What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review, and one that we've been kind of anticipating because we went over this band's debut, and it was like one of the saddest things we listened to that year. And we're back for more sad here, because we're going to go over the latest offering from Tribunal, in Penitence and Ruin. This also comes out the 18th of April on 20 Bucks Min. This band formed in 2019 in Vancouver, BC. This is their second album, as I said. We actually reviewed their debut album, The Weight of Remembrance. Reasonably sure John cried. Maybe. I don't know. I might have brought up Artax in that one. That might have been the first Artax reference.
I'm crying now. You can't see it.
On the inside.
Yeah, you can't see it, but it's happening. I've been sobbing since we made it through this album, and I'll probably continue along those lines for most of the evening, because this fuck is going to mention Artax a bunch of times.
I mean, in hindsight, it might have been My Dying Bride where I brought up the first Artax jokes. Either way, Artax is going to get brought up. Maybe beyond this.
That's great.
This is a gothic doom metal / funeral doom band. Now, when we went over their first album, it was notably 2 members of the band. Like, the rest of the band was rounded out by session musicians, I believe. This time they have a full lineup of permanent members. And I don't know how much that's actually changed things, because this is still unbearably sad and just dreary and gothic as hell. But I can say, like, this is exactly what I expected. I wouldn't entirely call it My Dying Bride worship, but it's pretty damn close.
I mean, it's about as close as it gets. I guess the only thing I can say about this versus My Dying Bride is that this is less guitar-driven and more driven by strings.
It's kind of a balance, because, I mean, there's definitely a lot of strings in My Dying Bride. Like, this, I would say, definitely kind of takes its cues from Turn Loose the Swans, like that era of My Dying Bride in particular, where it sounded like a long, drawn-out funeral at Ren Fair. I mean, that's partially due to the fact that there are a lot of, like, folky melodies, but this band, I feel like, kind of has that similar dynamic, though I will say, vocally, it is a little bit more powerful at times. Not saying that Aaron Stanthorpe can carry a gloomy tune and growl his guts out, but this band having 2 distinct vocalists, their cello player and their main guitarist, there is a like a canyon between their vocal styles. The guitarist supplies some of the most blood-curdling death roars and screams. Like, it's absolutely just demonic sounding. And then the cellist, she supplies unbelievably powerful, dramatic, woeful, clean vocals.
It's more like there's 2 choices. One is to weep uncontrollably. But if I don't cry, the devil's going to get you. That's your only choice.
Well, good news, the devil moves slowly on this one, because this is very slow, very pondering. Every lumbering second on here just kind of gives it more time for the atmosphere to soak in, because believe me, this is just drenched in atmosphere. And the atmosphere is like a London summer, which, you know, if you're from London, you know I'm joking, because it just rains constantly there, and it's just gray and drab, and it's just sad. The opening track, Incarnadine, it sounds like you just walked into a funeral. Like, you have the somber harmonies, the woeful cello playing. The cello playing I love, first off, because it's real. Like, this isn't like that synthetic, like, string
this
thing.
Isn't crap. This is a real cello.
You can hear the bow go across, and I love that. The production here, I think, is great. This was mixed by Jesse Gander, who I'm not really familiar with, but I'm familiar with who mastered this. And it was Greg Chandler of Esoteric, and I could not think of a better guy to do this. This album sounds lush. It's got just loads of atmosphere. It drips with atmosphere, like fans of this band's, their faces drip with tears. But there's a lot of, like, interesting nuance in here in terms of, like, all the instrumentation. And again, like, this mix really, it allows a lot of the instrumentation to shine individually at times. Like, there are songs that are very guitar dominated. Like, you just hear these big, lumbering, often syncopated, droning riffs. Songs like A Wound Unhealing and the song, and the Thorn-Choked Flowers Grow, which I couldn't think of a more doomy title for a song. Like,
Dude,
wow, dude. That's good. Like, I feel that song title. But when the music kicks in, it is one of the heaviest tracks on here. Just oppressive, dark, like these big, chunky riffs on it. And then behind that, you hear like fluttering synths and pianos and the strings again. And what they do with the strings and the guitars in terms of harmonies, counter melodies, it's absolutely amazing. And I kind of go by like how it makes me feel, because this is a feel album. If you feel this album, well, congratulations, you're sad.
Mm-hmm. Like an Angel of Mercy. Those harmonies in particular, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if they could have picked sadder harmonies, because the harmonies themselves are a counter melody to the guitars anyway, but I'm telling you, the cello harmonies, I really don't think they could have picked a sadder sound.
It's like the saddest scales known to man.
Like, dude, man, like I was half tempted to eat a bottle of Zoloft.
Vibe is such a big thing on here, and it's consistent across the board. The Penitent, one of my favorite tracks in here, not only because it's, of course, sullen, dark, dreary as hell, it's also very catchy. And that's the thing that really kept me roped in on this album is the melodies. The melodies are very, very catchy. Like, yeah, they are heartfelt and agonized. And when you get a moment and start picking apart the lyrics, you really start feeling this album even more. But The Penitent in particular, it's about the riffs and the melodies. That song has a great hook to it. It's a little bit more mid-tempo, but there's some vocal dynamics in particular on that one that I really like, because she starts singing in a lower, more like raspy kind of croon, and he's growling underneath it. It sounds evil. It sounds dark and oppressive, but then there are moments where she kind of brings it back up, and he's kind of scaling down a bit. Again, the contrast and dynamic between the vocals is such a huge thing in here, but then you have the cello and the guitar harmonies together, and it's just woefully catchy. Like, this is probably one of the catchiest songs on here, maybe next to the last track, Between the Sea and the Stars, which, honestly, it sounds like a fucking forlorn waltz.
Yeah.
Like, they just took all the fun out of dancing and was like, here, just kind of lay down on the dance floor and weep with us.
Yeah, especially after how heavy the song before it was, and the Thorn-Choked Flowers Grow. Like, Between the Sea and the Stars, the last track, just kind of really like drives it home. Because I think in the Thorn-Choked Flowers Grow, I think that was more comparable to being like concrete poured over a casket that I'm in and still alive. This record goes from being sad and angry about it to just plain like, I've given up.
Like, absolutely
I'm done.
Defeated.
Yep.
But all of it does it with this like gothic flair to it, like the atmosphere, like you hear a harpsichord setting occasionally on the keys, which is very fitting. I feel as though if there was a special edition of this album, it should come with a candelabra and a collection of sad stories that just end with everybody dying. Actually, that'll just be like the first page. And the entire family and the dog died. The end. Go to sleep.
It's Old Yeller dying and Artax dying just on loop over and over and over again. And you're in a Clockwork Orange and your eyes are peeled open, and that's all you get to watch for the rest of your life.
Splice in like Littlefoot's mom dying too, for good measure.
And Optimus Prime.
You son of a bitch. But yeah, this whole album just sort of envelops you in its just dark, morose vibe and sound and atmosphere. Kind of like, you know, like a funeral shroud just being kind of just draped over you, like you're done, or at least your feelings are. But overall, I dig it. Like, there's a certain vibe to this that is just awesome. Like, I would call it like Dracula and chill, especially in the more gothic moments. But, you know, there's something about like emotional connectivity, and, you know, there are some lyrics in here that really did stand out, like Armored in Shadow. It's about trying to like numb yourself to the pain of loss and just all things depression.
Dude, those lyrics are like,
they hit. They hit. I was listening to them. I was like, yeah, dude.
Yep.
Oh man, I have been there.
Yep.
Man, dude, I really wish that this album would lay off the merciless gloom sometimes, but at the same time, there's that connectivity, and I get that. Like, you know, I listen to a lot of like death metal that talks about gore and zombies and shit. Like, I can't like personally relate to it. Like, oh man, remember that time we fucking slayed zombies all summer long?
Dude, that's sweet.
But this, I can kind of grasp. It's very tangible. It's very relatable, and it's done with again, like such flash and flare to like just the atmosphere and the songwriting, of course, because while these songs are very slow and brooding, they're very well written. Lots of cool dynamic shifts. You even get like a brief kind of blast beat on the Sword of the Slain, and it's really, kind of interesting how they transition into that, because before that comes like just this stupid, heavy, slow breakdown. And when they do these Funeral Doom breakdowns, like, it's a beat a week. Like, it's so damn slow. You get the heaviest of their guitars, and generally they kind of back off like the additional atmosphere, or at least phase in a little bit later.
Yeah, I don't mind Funeral Doom when it's done in pockets. And what they did here, going from, regular Doom to somewhat faster to Funeral, like, I can handle that transition, Funeral Doom for me, I don't want to have to listen to a beat and then be able to get in my car and drive home and get something and then come back and then hear the next one.
Unless it's live. Live, it's pretty
live
cool.
Live, first of all, live is a different story, because just seeing someone move at that pace and being able to keep it together is impressive.
Yeah.
Much like people going really fast, and that's impressive, also going really slow is super impressive.
I am thankful that this album doesn't have Funeral Doom song lengths. In fact, there's no songs in here like over 10 minutes. Most of them around, I think like the longest song is like maybe a little bit over 7 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
There might be like slightly longer, but for the most part, they don't overstay their welcome. And when music moves this slowly, you can kind of get like, well, at least if you're like me, like, all right, if we could, move it along. I've been stuck in this depressed murk like Artex for a while now, and I'm about to sink. There it is.
Yeah, it was weird. I kept wanting the pace of the riffs to pick up, because there are some decent riffs in here. But then I realized I was in the wrong genre, and that wasn't going to happen.
As far as any negatives on here, though, I will say that on certain songs, I feel like the guitars do get a little bit overpowered. Incarnadine in particular, at least I think I'm saying that right. I don't know, maybe. I do feel like the guitars got kind of drowned out, which there's a lot going on in the mix.
Right.
You need to make room for stuff. I can kind of understand that. But I liked the more guitar-driven tracks, like the Penitence in particular, A Wound Unhealing,
yeah,
and of course, and the Thorn-Choked Flowers Grow. Possibly my favorite song on here.
That is my favorite song on here. That song is something else.
That song will squeeze the joy out of anyone. But I do think they make up for that with the string and guitar harmonies. That is one of my big selling points on this album and this band in general, next to the amazing vocal dynamics, because they do both the beauty and the beast so fucking well. Like, the beauty is absolutely soaring. The beast is the fucking devil. I'm absolutely sure of it.
One of the problems I've had with Doom over the years, and the more I've got into it, the more I realized to work with it and deal with it. But one of the problems I've always had that someday I hope I'll be able to shake as I get more just into these things overall, is that sometimes I find it hard to pick out shit to differentiate between songs when a lot of the songs share the same elements. Like, granted, every song is not as, say, cluttered as Incarnadine is, because I feel like there's a lot going on there. I feel like they're actually using that song to fully kind of showcase what you're going to hear in the record. And not every song is like that, but like, for me personally, when things are moving that slow, I'm like, we've done this already. We've already moved this slow. What I will say to battle that statement would be is that there are times where things are definitely catchy. There's some catchy melodies, there's some catchy riffing, like an Angel of Mercy. One of the particularly awesome things that I picked up was the crawling cello riff. Normally I'm used to hearing a guitar do a crawling riff. I don't know if I've ever heard a cello do a crawling riff, but they did it. So like, there's cool things in there to combat the fact that there's a bunch of the same shit happening. So I mean, like, it's a gripe, but not really.
Yeah. I mean, I can get it. Like, you get a lot of big, droning open chords, and then a lot of these minor key, like, just dreary as hell, melodies and harmonies. They can kind of run together, and again, they kind of have that similar kind of, like, folky vibe. But in terms of, like, balancing it out with some interesting dynamics, and again, the vocal shifts, you can do a lot with those too, in terms of like the heavy part gets like the heaviest fucking vocals possible. But all of it, I think, is executed really well, and maybe done with like a little bit more epic flair on here too. Like, this kind of reminded me of like Candlemass at points, except Candlemass attending a funeral, which seems like a thing Candlemass might do anyway, for as much as they sing about death, but they're not Funeral Doom.
So overall, as sad as I am, I'm going to give this 4 stars because this record is very well done. Once again, something being sad doesn't necessarily mean it's not beautiful. Like, majority of this, as upset as I am, like, I'm also in awe because of how big these soundscapes are and how lush everything is. And once again, sad can be pretty, and this is definitely pretty. The cellos really working in tandem with the guitars are pretty much spot on. And the fact that you're harmonizing those two instead of using, guitars to harmonize or just cellos, like the fact that you're letting everything play with everything really well works out pretty great. Even though I made an argument that it was hard to pick shit out, you could still pick shit out here. There's a bunch of little nuances and a bunch of little fun things found in every track, and that's really the only fun that's being had is the interesting things that are happening with melodies and harmonies. There's nothing
fun and funeral.
There's nothing else fun about this. Instead of writing "I'm not crying, you're crying," no, I'm crying, you're crying. In fact, everyone's crying. It's hard not to get depressed listening to something like this, but at the same time, you have to feel depressed every once in a while. It can't be all sunshine and rainbows. There's no sunshine here. There's no rainbows here. I'll let you guess which one it is. All in all, if you're a big fan of My Dying Bride and Esoteric and Candlemass, I see the comparison at least on the last track. If you're a fan of any of that, or just want to be sad, or just want to be depressed, or cry a little bit, maybe drive into a tree, I don't know. If you're looking to do any of that, probably check this out. I thought it was pretty good.
I am also to 4, and I will also put an addendum on here that this isn't a style that I listen to all the time, because if I did, I'd be a weeping fucking wreck curled up in the fetal position on the floor, just sobbing uncontrollably, because, man, like, this really just kind of cuts to the core. I enjoy it, though, just in terms of, like, the songwriting. This is very well done. And again, strings and guitar harmonies, I think they're just fucking beautiful in here. Like, there's something about, like, the elongated strumming of the cello and matching that with a heavy guitar. Like, there's just something there. But again, the vocal dynamics are awesome. The production's amazing. The songs are catchy for what they are too. Like, I mean, again, you really have to be in the right mood for this. And that right mood is definitely not already depressed. Like, make sure you're in a good, even spot before you put on something like this, because it is just woeful and dreary, but also, again, beautiful. Like, flat out, there are some beautiful moments on here. And when this does get, like, more epic, you get that kind of, like, pleading with the darkness sort of vibe, especially in the clean vocals, which, my God, this woman can sing. She is absolutely fantastic, but at the same time, dude doing the growls, man. Dude, the devil lives in your throat. And it's pretty fucking cool. But yeah, if you're a big fan, again, of, My Dying Bride is the first one that comes to mind for damn sure, but also Esoteric, I would also say Skepticism and Shape of Despair. If you're a big Shape of Despair fan, which they are playing at MDF, and I believe that's the first day.
On Doom Day.
Oh my God, the first day is just doomy and slow, and oh God, it's going to be a fun time with the Ram's Head. But yeah, anything like that, check this album out. Damn good. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They're only 99 cents. Our lone perk is doing a members-only live stream, which we will be doing one later this month, maybe 420, maybe not. It depends. Either way, memberships are the main way to support the channel. We also still have our store, thrallsmetal.com, with our t-shirts and hats. That is linked down below. And if you're in a really downtrodden, bummed-out mood, you can always hit the join button, and that might cheer you up, maybe?
It will, because we're stupid.
Yeah.
The one thing you can count on here, regardless of reviews or our knowledge of music or whatever, is that we're pretty dumb. And
sometimes that's entertaining.
Yeah, if you've picked up on that and you think we're funny, then you're probably going to want to join, because let me tell you, it gets a whole hell of a lot stupider in those member streams. Way to sell it, right? We're just happy that you hang out with us and do things like laugh at our jokes, and that makes us feel pretty swell. And in return, to make you guys feel swell, we do things like album reviews, discography rankings. We got At the Gates coming up next. And then we're about to debut a different kind of segment here that's going to come in kind of in tandem with our rankings. Something that's going to be a little bit more interactive for you guys. Something that you'll be able to check out almost in real time as you watch the video. So that'll be really cool. Nick's never-ending collection updates, tons of stuff, tons of metal stuff all the time. That's what we do here at Thralls of Metal, and we do it for you guys because we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely amazing. Tons of content coming your way.
Tons.
So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.